All right, so by way of introduction, I'm Mr. Coderre, and I'll be teaching you Science 10. Okay, I know that you're on your timetables and in your registration and all of that, it said Science 10 AP. So the first thing you need to know is that I will occasionally teach the AP content when we have time for it. It will not be tested. So whatever mark you achieve in this course is what you would have got if you took regular Science 10. Okay, we just find that most of the time when we're doing Science 10 AP, we don't end up having time to get to the AP content just because you're already making kind of a big adjustment to high school. The workload is quite a bit different, okay? And we find that it just takes us a little longer to get through things than it probably normally does. But if we do have time, then I do teach the AP material, okay? But because it is enrichment material, it is something we only teach if we're sure we have time to do it, right? And that only ever really amounts to about 3 or 4 extra lessons per unit, okay? So if we get to them, we get to them. If not, it's not a big deal. Okay, it isn't something that will cost you anything when you take a 20 level AP science. So if you're looking at taking Bio 20 AP, okay, if I don't get to the AP material in Bio, it won't affect you at all. Okay, it'll get taught anyway. Okay, at the 20 level, same with chemistry. All right, so just so we're clear on that, because you may have heard that when you take AP classes, your mark gets boosted. Okay, that may be true for some of them, but it isn't true for this one because again, we don't actually assess any of the AP content. So your tests will be the same as a regular Science 10 test. Okay, same with your assignments, things like that. All right, so there won't be any adjustments made to the mark. All right, most important thing for Science 10, guys, is attendance. All right, if you are not here, you are missing valuable material. And while there are lots of resources made available to you by me, in case you happen to miss a day or two, I cannot replicate with those resources what happens in the classroom. Okay, if you are missing a large amount of time, a large amount of class, it is going to affect your mark. Okay, we've had some teachers who have done like statistical analysis of how many absences results in this much decrease in people's mark, and it doesn't take much. Okay, like we're talking more than 5 absences starts to result in a significant decrease. Okay, so you need to be here as often as possible. Okay, now I understand things come up. You get sick. Okay, if you're like deathly ill and you're puking, I don't want you here. Okay, you should stay home and you should get better and not come here and make us all sick and pukey. So, okay, I mean, obviously in those kind of situations, yeah, you're going to miss a class. You're going to miss a class or 2 maybe, right? But what we're talking about here is that I don't feel good today. I don't feel like going to school. No, you know what? Drag your butt out of bed and get here. Okay, you got to be here if you want to be successful. Okay, if you know that your family is planning, let's say, a vacation during school, see if you can change that to during a holiday. All right, missing like a week or 2 weeks. I once had a student who said, I'll be gone for a month. I'm like, that's not good. You're going to be gone for a month? Maybe take this next semester then, because that's pretty much a write-off, okay? You don't want to miss that much class. So if you know you're going to be missing an extended period of time, see if you can change your plans. It's really not a good idea, okay? If you can't get around it, can't change those plans, then you're going to be doing a lot of work on your holiday if you don't want to get really, really far behind. All right, just so everyone's clear, attendance is your #1 priority. Okay, you got to be here if you want to be successful. Okay, so I've got a lot of resources that I'll talk about a little later that are available, okay, if you miss class. But if you miss class, who's responsible to catch you up? You, exactly. Okay, not my job. Okay, my job's to teach it in class here that day. Okay, your job is to use the resources to be caught up. Now, I'm not saying that if you missed a day because you were sick, you couldn't come in and go, Mr. Coderre, look, I watched your podcast of the lesson, so I got everything you said, and then I did the questions, but I don't get this. Okay, if you come to me and you say, I did this and I did this, you fulfilled your role as the student. I'll fulfill my role as a teacher and answer any questions you have. Okay, but if you come to me the next day and you go, or you've been gone for a week, and, hey, Mr. Coderre, what did I miss? My answer will be a lot. Okay, and that'll be the end of my answer. Okay, your responsibility is to catch yourself up. If you're missing, my job is to help you once you have done that part of it. Okay, best way, best plan, try not to miss. Okay. All right, and obviously I use Google Classroom as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit here once we get to that part. Okay, in relation to attendance is late. Okay, class begins when the bell goes. It was very nice to see that everybody was on time this morning. Okay, I expect that each and every day. Okay, class begins at 8:35. Make sure you're here slightly before 8:35 so that you're ready to go. Okay, all right. All the resources, okay, so that's section 2 here, Mr. Coderre's YouTube channel and Google Classroom. All right, so if we are looking at resources available to you, okay, then one of them is the YouTube channel that I use to post the podcast. So you'll see I'm walking around wearing my little Bluetooth microphone here, okay? You will see me wearing that each and every day. I record everything that goes on in class. Everything that appears on the smartboard gets recorded as well, and it gets posted to YouTube. Okay, then I post a link to that in Google Classroom. So if you're absent, that's what you got to watch. Okay, you got to watch what we did. It's the next best thing to being here. It's not the same as being here, but it's the next best thing. All right, so the channel is, okay, CoderreScience. Right, you can search for that on YouTube. I don't mind if you take out your phone right now and subscribe to that. That's fine. Okay, then you'll get all the notifications if you click the bell anytime I do something. You probably don't need to do that because it'll show up in Google Classroom every day. Okay, otherwise you're just going to get a notification that, hey, I taught something today, but you probably already know that. All right, so that's a channel that you'll probably be using fairly often. Okay, and it's set up in order to make it easy for you to use. There's a playlist for each unit. Okay, right now they all have stuff in them, but I'm going to take that down. I just had to leave them in there so that they were visible to you. So there'll be one for the chemistry unit, one for the biology unit, one for physics, and one for global systems. Okay, and guys, honestly, I put everything in there. Even when we do a lab, I record the observations. Okay, so if you were absent for a lab, you can still do the lab report, because you just have to watch the video that shows all of the observations. It'll be like the actual reactions videoed, okay, with a camera and everything. So everything will be on there. If you ever miss something or you weren't sure about the results your group got, watch the observations video. Okay, I probably did it right. In case you were, curious, maybe you didn't or you're not sure. Okay, always a good way to double check stuff. So there'll be lots of stuff available to you on there. Okay. All right, and then we also have Google Classroom. So for that, guys, obviously, how many people have used Google Classroom before? Good, everybody, awesome. All right, join code is right here. Okay, I don't mind if you take out your phones right now. Okay, hopefully you have the Classroom app on there. If not, maybe put it on there or write the join code down. You have to be part of my Google Classroom in order to complete this course. That is where we submit pretty much everything. All right. Okay, so you've probably all seen Google Classroom before, but there are a couple of changes to Google Classroom this year that Google rolled out like 2 days ago. So they always give us lots of notice that they're making some changes, right? So things is, the stream is the same as it's always been, and that's where I'll post what we did every day. Okay, so that's where all that stuff will show up. And then in class work, okay, that's new. It's a new category here. If I assign any assignments, they'll appear in here. That used to be over off on the right in the stream tab, but now it's got its own tab. So any assignments or labs or things like that will show up in here. All right. In this little file folder, this is what used to be in the About tab. Okay, but it's all in here now. This is where all the resources you are going to need are located. Okay, and they should be. Okay, hang on. Okay, so I'll post them in the stream today so that you'll have access to them. But okay, what you will have, okay, is there's notes packages for each unit, okay, and they're in a Google Doc format, right? And there's also a worksheet package for each unit except biology. Okay, you'll need to have those as well. So there's some things that you guys need to print at home. Okay, now I say need to print. You probably don't need to print everything. The worksheet packages, yes. Okay, those will need to be printed at home. It's not a very big, it's not like 100 pages or anything like that. Okay, the notes package, that I'll leave to you. If you like to have paper notes, okay, this is like your textbook. All right, so that's, you just need to have a copy of that somehow. If you want to print it, that's fine. I would say don't print it in color. the files in color, but if you print all of the notes packages all at once in color, you'll probably need a new ink cartridge. All right, so I would recommend you don't print them all at once and all in color. All right, what a lot of people do is they just put that file on their phone, and then they have Google Docs open on their phone during class, which I'm okay with, okay? And they're just looking at the notes on their phone, okay? Then we save a whole bunch of trees, right? And that's the whole reason I've gone to this kind of all electronic format, is because I actually once kept track of how many pages I photocopied in a semester, and it was 4 boxes of paper, which I don't know how many trees that works out to, but it's a lot. Like my conscience, I couldn't live with it. So, okay, we're going to this, right? If you want to print it, that's up to you, print it at home, okay? Or just have the notes package on your phone. The worksheet package you will need to print, okay? But like I say, it's not super long, and I don't know why it's not working here, but it's not super long. Like for chemistry, chemistry is probably the biggest worksheet package, and come on. All right, we'll open it this way. Sorry guys, my computer's being really slow today. There are many reams of paper in a box, and each ream is 500 pages. Yeah, there's a lot. Okay, so give you some idea here. Okay, the chemistry worksheet package it's 15 pages. Okay, that's the longest one, okay, of the worksheet packages. But you do need to have these worksheets. I'll give you a handout today because obviously you didn't know today that you needed this, but I will post it later on today so that you can print it tonight, okay, and have it for tomorrow. Okay, so you'll need that. You'll need the notes packages. Okay, yeah, and that'll take care of most of that. All right. So we talked about the YouTube channel, we talked about Google Classroom, okay, and then obviously each day I'll post the day's activities, a link to the day's podcast, okay, developments and notes and such on Google Classroom. In the post, I may also include links to lab data. So if we did a lab, there'll be a link to the lab data or the observations video or whatever, okay. In case you are absent or you lose yours, okay, use this resource to its fullest potential. And also I will post stuff up here on the board in the old-fashioned way, okay, if you like it that way better. And also I post the quizzes ahead of time. We'll talk about quizzes in a little bit, but I post them ahead of time. That is, I put the actual quiz you're going to write on Google Classroom the day before, so you have a chance to go over it. So Google Classroom is probably your most important resource, okay, in this class. So make sure you've joined, okay, so that you can get all of that stuff. Okay, and 2.4 I kind of already talked about. Okay, by using all of those resources, you should always be able to return to class caught up with your classmates. Okay, it's a lot of extra effort for me to put all those resources together and make them available to you, so I do expect that you use them. And as I said before, I never want to be asked, Mr. Coderre, what did I miss? Because that says to me, I, as the student, did not fulfill my role as the student and get caught up. Okay, so your role as the student is make sure you're always caught up and up to date with what we're doing. Okay, any questions on that part? Okay, so just classroom behavior stuff, pretty simple, okay? Everyone should be treated with respect. I will treat you with respect, and I expect the same in return, and I expect that you treat your classmates with respect as well, okay? If I say listen up, that means I need your eyes forward and your full and undivided attention on me, okay? It could be simple like listen up, we got to get started. Listen up, there's a mistake on this worksheet. Listen up, there's a fire over here and we need to go now, okay? Something like that, but if I say listen up, then I need your full and undivided attention up front, okay? Class work, okay? This is one of the big changes from junior high. Your workload is going to increase significantly in high school. Okay, I've seen kind of, you know, the grade books and things like that come out of junior high, and you guys are expected to do a lot less work in junior high than you'll be expected to do here. Okay, so when I assign work, I expect it to get done. I may not check all of it. Okay, I don't do homework checks. Okay, but if I say you should finish this sheet, you should finish that sheet. Okay. If I assign a lab, you need to do the lab. It's worth marks, okay? Those I'm always going to check, or an assignment or something like that, okay? If you don't do your work, you are not going to learn the material that work is designed to help you learn. You're not going to get the marks for that material, which is going to really hurt you, okay? And then your mark will suffer, and then your parents are going to go, what's going on? And then it's all bad from there. So, okay, you need to do any work that is assigned, okay? Now, in high school, okay, I do a little bit of chasing, okay, like so in grade 10 especially, if you're not getting your work done, I'll chase a little bit, but we're trying to transition to the responsibility being yours to get things done. Now, if it's mid-September, there's 3 things that you haven't handed in, yeah, I'm going to call mom and dad, okay? They need to know about that. That's kind of getting serious, okay? And that's probably not going to work out very well for you. Okay? Generally, when I call home and say little Johnny or little Janie is missing a bunch of assignments, the reaction is, what? How many? And okay, what do we need to do? And then you end up kind of in jail, and it's like 4 gray walls, bread and water, and no Xbox and no car keys and all that kind of stuff. So, okay, make sure you're getting your homework done, okay, so that I don't have to call home and have that awkward phone call that's going to make your life miserable later, okay? Now, with regards to getting your work done, if you're getting your work done, then you're going to learn the material, and you're not going to have any problem when unit exams come along or when quizzes come along, because you'll know the stuff. But if you say, I don't really feel like doing that tonight, and you say that 2 or 3 times a week, pretty soon you're just going to find yourself behind, and you're not going to know the material, and you're not going to get the mark that you want, okay, or that your parents want, or both, right? So you need to be keeping up with stuff, okay? Now, one thing you need to know about the science department. Everybody's on the same page on this in the science department. There are no rewrites. Okay, if you're doing your job as a student and you're coming in to get help on things you don't get, you won't need one. Okay, so there aren't any rewrites. You've got to be ready when the unit exam comes. I always give 2 weeks notice for a unit exam, so you will know well ahead of time when you are having one. I wouldn't say, oh, by the way, you're going to have a unit exam worth X amount of your mark tomorrow. Okay, I'm not that kind of guy. That's not really fair. Okay, so you'll always get 2 weeks notice on a unit exam. That gives you lots of time to go over your notes, go over your stuff, come in and get help, ask questions, all that kind of stuff. Okay? Now, should you, by some act of God, fail a test, and that happens very rarely, okay? Very rarely, then you will come in and sit down with me and we will go over your test, and you'll do kind of a makeup thing that's really big that, had you studied properly and passed the test, would have been equivalent to the amount of work you would have done to do that in the first place, that kind of thing, okay? That then we can work something out after that, okay? But there's no rewrites, okay? You get it right the first time, okay? Probably a lot of you have aspirations to be things like doctors and engineers and stuff like that, okay? Those are occupations where you kind of have to get things right the first time, okay? There's no do-overs after you build a bridge. Okay, if you don't build it right, people die. Okay, if you're a brain surgeon and you don't do it right, people die. Okay, so there's no rewrites in real life, so we're kind of starting toward real life now. Okay, all right. Fairness versus equality. Okay, I will always try to be fair to everyone, but that is not the same as treating everyone equally, because treating everyone equally isn't necessarily fair. Okay, so I will always do my best to be as fair to each individual person and the class as a whole as much as I can. All right, if you ever feel like I haven't been fair, then please come and talk to me about it after class. All right, the example I always give guys is a situation that happened about 12 years ago. I had a lab that was due, and people had brought it in because that was pre-Google Classroom, and everyone had put it on my desk, and these 3 people came up after who didn't have it done. And so I said to the first guy, like, how come your homework's not done? Like, you've had a week and a half to do this lab that would have taken you like 25 minutes. Yeah, well, I left it till last night, and then the season finale of my favorite show was on, and I didn't do it. I'm like, I appreciate your honesty, but it's not done, so you're going to take a late penalty. Okay, I need it tomorrow. All right, and he sat down. I mean, that was, he admitted it was his own fault for not getting it done. Okay, and the second person, okay, similar thing. They had left it till the last minute, and then something came up and they couldn't get it done, and it was completely their own procrastination, and they had to take a late penalty and get it done. And the third person, I don't even know how she was standing up. She looked like she would have to get better to die. That's how sick she looked. Okay, and she said, Mr. Coderre, I admit I did leave it till the last minute. I only had a little bit of it done, but last night my parents had this huge fight and they both stormed out of the house, and then I had to make dinner for my 4 little brothers, and I made chicken and I didn't cook it enough, and we spent the whole night throwing up. So first I had to be a bit of a jerk and go, well, that's what happens when you leave things till the last minute. Calamity knows when you've done that, and that's when they'll find you. Okay, but that's terrible. Is there something I can do to help? Please get me your assignment tomorrow, and I won't mark it late. Okay, so what I expect, guys, is be honest with me. That's part of that respect thing. Okay, because I have had students who have given me like Academy Award winning performances, okay, with some sob story that wasn't true in order to not take a late penalty. So there's very few things that won't result in that. I just expect that you're honest with me if something doesn't get done on time, okay? But your role is get it done. Question? If you're not there the day it's due, is it still considered late? If you are not there the day it is due, it's handed in on Google Classroom, so you can still submit it. Yeah, so the answer to that is, I guess, yes. So make sure, even if you are not here, that it gets submitted, okay? I had a kid who went on a student exchange for 3 months and took my class essentially virtually and handed in everything on time, even though he was in a way different time zone. He was in Belgium. Okay, he still handed in everything on time through Google Classroom, right? So that's entirely possible. So if you're going on that week-long holiday with your parents, you still got to hand in everything on time. You got to know what's going on. You got to get it done. Okay, those are the expectations. All right, and so that leads to accountability, okay? So it's the start of real life, so due dates and timelines are part of your reality, okay? You guys got your phone, you got your calendar in there, okay? You should be adding due dates and things like that to your calendar, setting reminders a few days in advance to remind you I need to get this done, okay? It's a very important skill in high school is time management, okay? Because like I said, the amount of work you're going to be expected to do to maintain the marks you had in junior high is way up. Okay, it's going to be way more work to get a 90 in high school than it was in junior high. Okay, so you need to really manage your time. Okay, I got football practice, I got hockey practice, I got whatever. I need to make sure I squeeze in a few minutes here. Mr. Coderre said this lab report would probably take me a half an hour. I got to find a half an hour over the next 4 days to get that thing done. Okay, that's a skill that we will help you to develop. Okay, but it's a skill you have to develop if you're going to make it through and be successful. All right. Questions on that? Okay, so the late penalty, if something comes in late, is 30%. Immediately. Okay, I don't do it's this much per day because then I have to keep track of how many days late it is. And in my mind, there aren't different degrees of late. It's either on time or late. There is only 2 versions of that scenario. Okay, everyone kind of follow me there? Okay, and when I say like late, I mean like Google Classroom has a cutoff time. I assign it, it's due at the start of class on the due date. So if you hand it in at 8:37, it's late. Okay, so make sure you have it ready and hand it in and submit it on time. Okay, all right. Okay, the reason I do that, because I know people kind of go, oh God, 30%? Yeah, oh God, 30%? Yes, absolutely. Okay, because I never give you like an immediate turnaround for anything. Okay, if I assign you a lab report to be due, the soonest I would expect it, and this almost never happens, but the soonest I have ever expected anything back was 2 school days. Okay, meaning if I assigned it on Monday, the earliest it would be due would be Thursday. Okay, Tuesday, Wednesday. Not that you would get class time to work on that, but okay, 2 full school days before I would expect it to come in. All right, if we're trying to teach you guys time management, saying, oh, by the way, this thing that's going to take you 4 hours is due tomorrow is not helping you develop time management. It's teaching you panic. Okay, and that's not right. That's not what we're trying to do. Okay, so you'll always be given a very appropriate amount of time to get things done. Also gives you a chance if you need to come in and ask questions or get some help on something that you have time to do that. All right, so I'm never going to ask for an immediate turnaround on something. Okay, you'll have lots of time to get it done. Okay, and guys, like I say, real life can be pretty cruel. Okay, and having things in on time is crucially important. Okay? My wife used to work in oil and gas. Her job was to essentially assign contracts to people. So the way that works is if there's a job that a company needs done, other companies can bid on that job. Okay, their bids have to be in by a certain time. Okay, and she once had a job that was going to be a $6 million job for some company. So she had a number of contracts that had been put through, or bids that had been put through for that contract, and they had to be in by 12 noon on a certain day. And so she was looking at all the ones that had come in. 3 o'clock that afternoon, another one came in. She couldn't even look at it. Legally, she could not look at that bid because it had come in after the submission point. So somebody who didn't get their work done and was 3 hours late on getting their work done possibly cost the company $6 million. You'd probably get fired. I'm just guessing. $6 million seems like a lot of money to me. Probably something you might get fired for. Okay, so that's what, again, we're trying to bring kind of to you guys the importance of due dates and getting things done on time. All right. Assessment and evaluation. So to do with your marks, okay? First thing is that I will not discuss your mark with you in class in front of everyone. All right, that's a FOIP issue. All right, I can't discuss your mark when other people might overhear us. So if you have a question about your mark, okay, just come and see me after class. Now, when you hand something in, if it's a lab or an assignment, I always go over it with the class. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this. Part of the other reason that it's a 30% late penalty is you always, in my class, get your stuff back the next day. Always. Okay? I have been teaching for 19 years. I have only failed to get back an assignment the next day once. Okay? That's because my second son was born. And I figured I probably shouldn't be marking labs while my wife is in labor. That was a good decision. Okay, I didn't get the labs back the next day, okay, but I got them back the day after. All right, I think I get a break on that one. Okay, 19 years once. Okay, so you will always get your assignments back the next day from me. Okay, and then I'm going to go over them with you in class. So most of the time, you know where you lost your marks because I've kind of gone through everything. But if you still have questions, you just come up after class and say, Mr. Coderre, I know you went over this, but I just don't see why I lost marks on this question. No problem, I'll explain it. Okay, you don't get your mark changed very often, but feel free to come up and ask because I want you to understand. Okay, and so always feel free to come up and ask. Okay, the other thing is, guys, is it's kind of awkward if I'm discussing your mark in front of everybody else, right? It's kind of awkward because then people are looking at theirs, and yeah, it's just not good. So make sure you come up after class if you want to do that. Okay, your marks will be distributed according to the syllabus. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, and I talked about this just a few minutes ago. Assignments and labs are be handed in on time. Late assignments can be handed in, but they'll be penalized 30%. Okay, now, how late can it be? Really late. Okay, I don't care. I've taken things that were due, like for first semester, I've taken things that were due in September in January. You get it done, I want you to get it done. It's a learning activity. It's important for you to do it. Okay, I'll take it no matter how late it is. Just understand that it's not worth as much once it's late. Okay, especially if you hand it in after I've gone over it with everybody in class. It's hardly fair for you to hand it in then and get 100%. You just sat there and wrote down all the answers. Okay, so understand that that's kind of the reasons for that. Okay, so if you're absent on the due date and it's something that couldn't be handed in through Google Classroom, which is going to be like 2 things the whole semester, okay, if that happens, then obviously hand it in immediately upon your return. Everything else handed in through Google Classroom, okay, regardless of whether you're here or not. Now, obviously, if you're like really sick and you're in the hospital and you're hooked up to a bunch of tubes, well, okay, yeah, you can't get it in on time. We get that. Those are extenuating circumstances. Okay, I'm not heartless, okay, or unrealistic. Okay, and assignments and labs are due at the start of class on the due date. So for you guys, that means 8:35 on whatever day it's due. Okay, that's when it's got to be in. Okay, there's none of this, oh, it's due at 3:30s. And I know every teacher's different. Some teachers like midnight. I'm not marking at 2 in the morning. Okay, if I'm going to get these things back to you the next day, they got to be in at the start of class. Okay. All right, questions on any of that? Okay, so the course syllabus here, guys, there's 4 units in Science 10. The first unit, okay, is matter and energy in chemical change. We call that chemistry. Okay, so the first unit will be on chemistry. The first week or so will be mostly review, naming compounds. We'll add a few new rules into naming ionic and molecular compounds. Then we'll move into properties of matter, and then into chemical reactions and mole equations, stuff like that. This tends to be, for people, one of the tougher units, just because you still have summer brain and you're making the adjustment to grade 10 and stuff like that. So it'll take us till around Thanksgiving. Okay? Around Thanksgiving, we should be having a unit exam in chemistry somewhere along there. All right, second unit is biology. Okay? Alberta Learning calls it the cycling of matter in living systems. Biology. Okay, so we go over the cell and cell theory and how cells work and how they make up organs and how organs make up systems, things like that. Looking at relationships between multicellular organisms and single cells. We don't do any dissections or anything like that in Science 10. Mostly we look at plants as our multicellular organism in Science 10. That unit usually takes us to around parent-teacher interview time, middle of November, okay, somewhere in there. And then unit 3 is energy flow in technological systems. That's physics. Okay, so in physics, we'll be doing a fair amount of algebra. We'll be looking at some graphing because those are kind of the tools of physics. We'll be looking at types of energy, transformations, transfers, conversions of energy, one-dimensional motion, so like things that are moving forward or backward. Okay, we don't have to bring in any trigonometry or anything like that in Science 10. We'll look at mechanical energy conversions and kind of real world applications of a lot of things, okay? That unit typically takes us to right to Christmas. Maybe sometimes we don't finish before Christmas and we finish right after, all right? And the last unit that we go over is energy flow in global systems. It's the least important of the 4 units, but it's worth just as much as the others, and it's quite short. Okay, so it's a nice unit to have right before your final exam because there's not a lot of material in it. It's usually an opportunity to kind of boost your mark a little right before the final exam. Okay, but it's the one we shortchange if we have to. It can take as much as 2 weeks or as few as 5 days. Okay, depending on how much time we have. There's basically nothing in that unit that carries over to any of your 20 level sciences. So it's the one we can kind of rush if we have to. Okay. All right, so your marks distribution. So your unit exams, 4 of them, will combine to be 25% of your final mark. Okay, so 1/4 of your final mark is the 4 unit exams you will write. Okay, your class work, so that would be lab reports, projects, assignments, and things like that that would be assigned and that you would work on a little bit in class. You could ask for help from me on. Okay, those are 45% of your final mark. Okay, they are the most heavily weighted part because I feel that's the part that helps you learn the most, so it's the most important. Okay, but it's also the part you can ask questions and get help on. Right, so that's the 45% you have the most control over. Okay, and thus it's the biggest part of your mark. Quizzes. Quizzes are 10%, and you should get pretty much all 10% of that. Here's why. You will have a quiz every Tuesday and every Thursday, unless told otherwise. I will post those quizzes on Google Classroom on Monday and Wednesday. All right, the exact quiz. All right, so if I say there's a quiz on Tuesday, by the way, there's a quiz on Tuesday. Okay. Oh, sorry, no, that's after the long weekend. There'll be a quiz on Thursday of next week. That'll be your first one. Okay. I will post it on Wednesday, right after school, on Google Classroom. Your job, that's your homework. Open up that quiz and do it. Okay, find the answers, work out the answers, talk to your friends. I usually have classes, they'll make some kind of group chat and they call it their quiz chat or whatever, okay, and they're working out the questions together. That's exactly what I want you to do, okay? This is an opportunity for you to work on specific stuff that you know will be on your unit exam later, okay? You work on it that night, you come in the next morning and you write that exact same quiz. How often should you get 100% on that quiz? Pretty much all the time. Okay, and if you don't get 100%, you should get pretty darn close. All right, because I'm giving it to you ahead of time and giving you the opportunity to work with others to figure things out. Big learning opportunity, okay, and it's 10% of your mark. And then your final exam is 20% of your final mark, okay? That'll be in January, okay? It's a 2-hour sitting, okay, in the gym usually. All right. Okay. And then the going green part, I talked about that before. Okay, I'll put the notes package and all that kind of stuff up on Google Classroom here right away, so you guys can get copies of that however it is you're going to do it. Okay, if you're going to download it and have it on your phone, okay, or if you're going to print it, whatever, right? Make sure that for tomorrow, okay, so for tomorrow you have the chemistry notes package in some form and the chemistry worksheet package. Okay, that should be on paper printed. All right, you don't have to, okay? You don't have to print it. Some people just call up the worksheet on their phone and then work on it on a page. That's fine too. It doesn't matter how you do it. Okay, if you want to save trees and not have to worry about bringing, a whole bunch of stuff with you every day, you can do it that way too. Okay. All right, so other questions that usually come up. Mr. Coderre, how do you feel about phones? Well, I think it's pretty clear. Okay, I have no problem with your phone in this classroom. A phone is a tool. Okay, and you don't go to a job without your tools, right? But I expect the phone to be treated like a tool, not like a toy. Okay, so if you got a toolbox full of tools, school tools, that would be pencils, paper, your phone, calculator, okay, that kind of stuff. All right, but you got to treat it like a tool in my classroom. Okay, you don't play with a wrench, right? It's not a toy. So your phone's not a toy. Okay, it should be doing school-related stuff. And believe me, guys, I can tell when it's being used for one or for the other. Okay, your body language and mannerisms are so much different when you're using it as a tool versus using it to Snapchat your friends. Okay, your facial expressions are way different, or you're holding it in a different place. Okay, I mean, really, if it's doing schoolwork, it's usually right here on your desk. If it's doing other things, it's trying to be hidden from me. All right, just know I want it to be used responsibly. Okay, you guys are old enough. I can trust you with that responsibility. Okay, use it accordingly. So I have no problem with your phone being out, but use it for what we need it to be used for. Use it for your notes. Use it for the worksheets. Okay, save some trees. Let's do that. Okay. Can you listen to music in my class? Yes, you can in certain situations. Okay. If I'm talking and actively teaching, that's not a situation where you can listen to music. If you're sitting at your desk working on a worksheet or working on a lab report or something like that, and you want to kind of isolate yourself, because I know I used to be that way. I couldn't study unless I had music on, because then I heard every other little sound. Okay, if you're like that, you're like me. I got no problem with that. If it's seat work and you're working on stuff, by all means. But if you see me saying I got to tell you guys something, then take them out, pay attention, put them back in. Okay, I got no problem with it if you're doing seat work. All right, if we're doing a lab, obviously don't have your music on when we're in the lab. Okay, that's the whole big safety issue. All right. Can you have food or drink in here? Yes, you can. Okay, just if you make a mess, please clean it up. All right, but I have no problem with that. Now, if you're coming in every morning at 8:35 with a 2-liter bottle of Coke and a big bag of chips, I'll probably give you some sort of nutrition lecture. Okay, but yes, you can have food and drink in here. I have no problem with that. Okay. There's a couple of handouts that you will get today. I will give you your periodic table, solubility table, and formula sheet. Okay, that is something you need to keep with you for the entire semester. Okay, it's going to look like this. Okay, so you're going to get this big sheet of paper. Okay, take care of it. All right, because I give you one copy. All right, there may be a few extra copies that are smaller than this, okay, in the little black table there at the front, okay, are kind of where I put the leftovers from the final exam. They have the same information, but they're smaller, okay? This is the thing you want to keep with you for the entire semester, so you'll get that today as well, okay? Fire exits, also important. Okay, so our primary fire exit is out this door, turn left, all right? You see where the stairs go up? We want to go not up, okay? We want to go down that little hallway to the doors that are right there, okay? We go out those doors and we go out into the back parking lot. So we cross the fire lane, okay, through that little ditch and into the back parking lot, okay? That is where we stand. If that exit is blocked, our secondary exit is the far doors down the science wing here. Our tertiary exit, if that one and the first one are blocked, is the main entrance by the office. All right. Closest bathrooms, right outside my door. Okay, girls' bathroom is right outside the door. Boys' bathroom is just down the hall. Okay, that's the closest bathroom. So if you need to go, please go to those ones rather than touring the school looking for the furthest geographically from here. Okay, those are the two. Okay, there's also a water fountain right there that has the water bottle filling station and all that kind of stuff. Okay. All right, questions from you guys? Anything you need to know or that I haven't covered or thought of? Bell times. Okay, right up here. They were also on the, it should have been on the schedule you got from the office. The bell time should be on there, but okay. Period one runs 8:35 to 9:58. Okay, and then you have an 8-minute break. And then we have period two, 10:06, or I think it might be 10:05. They adjusted things like a minute, okay, to about 11:25, 11:26. Okay, then you have scheduled help. All right, scheduled help will be new to you. They'll talk about that in the assembly here in period two. Scheduled help is 23 minutes where you go to the teacher of your choice that you have a class with, and you can work in there or ask questions or get help. Okay, it's a really good opportunity. Like, you know, if you got a question on a lab, you come in and ask in scheduled help, okay, or you get a little bit of homework done, like, you know, you got to sign something in the morning, you can probably get it done during scheduled help and not have to take it home, okay, things like that. But it's a nice time to have right before lunch there, okay. Then lunch will run from around 11:48 to 12:31, okay, and then period three, 12:31 to 1:51, and period four runs from just before 2 o'clock to 3:20 or so. Okay. All right, and Friday's different. And you know what? I have to update the Friday schedule because we changed the break times. All the breaks on Friday are 5 minutes. Okay, they're not the 8-minute breaks you get during the week. Okay, because Friday's obviously a shorter day. Right? You guys are done by 12:20 on Fridays. Okay, other questions? Yes. Do you need a calculator? The answer is yes. And you'll need a scientific calculator. Okay. You don't necessarily need to have the big graphing calculator, but you probably need that for math. But you don't need it for my class. You know, a simple Walmart or dollar store scientific calculator will do the job. Okay. So you don't need to get a $100 calculator for my class. Okay. Other questions? Okay, so in regards to what other things you need for the class, yeah, calculator, and then, you know, your writing utensils, and obviously the notes packages that I will make available today. Okay, those would be the big things for you.
Need loose leaf in your class?
Probably, because you're going to want it to, like, usually I go beyond what's in my notes package. I'll say, hey, write this in your notes or add this to it. Okay, so yeah, have some loose leaf to write down a few things there, yeah, for sure, and to do your worksheets and stuff. Okay, other questions? Okay, perfect.